All right, recording in three, two, one. All right, and welcome back to I think this is our 14th episode of our Triangle Splash podcast. Once again, Turbo is going to be away for probably another week. So we got our guest. I guess he's not special. He's a regular guest now.
What up?
Sherman,
What up?
nice to have you back. And it's an exciting week because for many leagues, this is the last week before the playoffs. So a lot of grinding happening right now, a lot of really close matchups that will affect seedings. So let's kick it right in with the first topic of the week. We're going to talk a bit less about the players for this topic, and we're going to talk about fantasy basketball strategies. So maybe these are strategies that you use to play the game of fantasy basketball.
Yeah, so I thought of this topic this week, and I guess it just kind of blends in with the fact that fantasy playoff for basketball starts for most leagues next week. So I thought, the host can share one or two strategies that could help you guys with your streamings or how you roster or start your team for the playoffs. So I think for my one or two strategies, I think is focus on, because most of you play, I guess, 8 to 9 categories, is, I guess, different from how the playoffs are different from the regular season is you only need to win 5 if you're playing 9 cats. You don't need to gun to win 6, 7, 8, or try to blow out teams with 9. To win that week to move on in the playoffs, you only need to win 5 categories for that week. So, count your, what's your team's strengths, right? So is it, rebounds, steals, assists, blocks? Is it just the offensive categories or just defensive categories? Your streamers and your ads and drops should reflect that. If you're up on 4 of the categories or 5 of them, focus on trying to push those 5 up even further. You don't need to, if you're going to lose on blocks, steals, just leave it then, because for that particular week, each week of the playoffs, you only need to win 5. I think one last thing I would consider is, let's say by Friday or Saturday, you're up with field goal percentage or free throw percentage. Consider benching some of your high volume shooters to make sure you solidify that category for the remainder of the week. So that's kind of my 2 cents. So see what the other guys have to think.
Yeah, really good points. Well, for me, whenever I try to look at guys in the waiver wire, there's one little thing I do is I always save one streaming spot on Sunday. Just because maybe when some days that like the matchup will come down to the wire and there are certain really close categories, and maybe that couple rebounds, couple points could win you that matchup. Maybe it could be a tie, you're down 5-4, and maybe it could be 5-4 on your side. So that's definitely something I've been doing, and I will recommend.
Yeah, that's a really good point about playing to your categories. Especially because in the playoffs, like Brian said, you only need to win either 5-4 or whatever. You don't need to blow them out. But the problem is that if you try to do a bit of everything, you're gonna suck in everything. You rather guarantee, like for example, if the other team is for sure like a big team that gets lots of rebounds, just don't bother competing in them, because chances are their big team is probably not that good in threes or assists. So you should try to, kind of pivot the team so that you can secure those categories that they may be giving up.
Yeah, I think Trevor made a really, really good point about leaving at least 1 or 2 spots for Saturday or Sunday. Do your homework ahead of time to see, which players have games on Saturday and Sunday, and leave that opportunity to, make that late last drop or add to make a difference. Because, like Sherman said, you could be tied or up down by 1 or 2 in blocks or steal, and that one ad on Sunday or Saturday could make a difference between the winning and losing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any secret strategies you got, Sherman?
And well, I guess like a lot of given ones like streaming back-to-backs, and I agree with all of you guys, like double downing on like your categories that you're winning. it's definitely such like a big strategy that everyone needs to know, and like especially come playoff time. Yeah.
And like to add on to like the streaming strategy is like be careful when you stream in the beginning of the week. I think a lot of people they get really frustrated with how their team did in the previous week, and then when it hits Monday and the ads reset, they immediately use all three or like all two on Monday, which is like I think is like too
Yep.
early in the week because especially with nowadays, I feel like everyone's noticing that there's a lot of players getting injured or like resting. So if you use all your ads in the beginning, you have no way to like pivot your team anymore, and you're kind of stuck with the team that you started on Monday.
Especially if you have people, streamers that you pick up, let's say earlier in the day or earlier in the week, and then they rest for the latter part of the week, or like Sherman mentioned, on the second half of the back-to-backs, then you're kind of stuck with no more flexibility of movement. So
And to
great
add on,
points.
what if like your players only have a 3-game week instead of a potential 5? So you could be missing out on like in your total games, you could be down like 5 games or so, and that could make a big difference.
So I would say, yeah, streaming is definitely like one of the biggest strategies in fantasy. Although I do know that some people they just don't like streaming. Like the team that they have, they like to like set it up, which I think is fine if your team is already set and you have no need to like mix and match. But for us, you know, because the three of us were actually in a dynasty league, I think that the good thing about having a streamer spot is that you get to kind of play around to see what players are blowing up, and then you can grab that player. Because if you're already set, then you're not going to be able to take a risk on any players.
Agreed.
Good
And
points.
I'm sure that there's plenty of other strategies. Just for the playoffs, you know, no matter how much you want to win by, you got to secure the win. So hopefully these streaming strategies will be helpful for you guys. Plan your categories. And if it comes down to percentages and turnovers, like Brian said, maybe consider benching. It is a big risk, I would say, but it is the type of strategy that could pay off if you do it right. All right, all right. And I'm sure like there's a lot of other strategies. So if you guys think of any strategies, let us know in the comments down below.